Every time you look at the stars, you know that there's so much more possible on this planet.
Yeah, I think about the notion that we're at one of the most incredible periods ever of human history. I mean, people need to know that we're amazingly lucky to be alive right now.
Yeah.
It's like insanely amazing. Thousands of years from now, whatever humanity is, we're going to be looking back at these next few decades as the moment in time where the human race left Earth and became a multi-planetary species.
Oh yeah.
And that's only happened once before, in one sense, when we left the oceans and came onto land, and now it's now. We're all part of it. We're part of this epic adventure that humanity is taking.
I also believe that there's a shift too, just across all disciplines, from art all the way to architecture. Like, we are realizing that we're units of awareness, trapped in flesh, and that ultimately our goal is to go back to from whence we came, stuff.
We're becoming, exactly
as Carl Sagan once called us.
Yeah, we're becoming conscious on a completely new level of existence.
Yeah.
And it's palpable. I mean, you can feel it, right? As we're becoming interconnected, as you said, as we start to see examples from around the world, and we realize we're far more connected as a species than ever before, far more intimate with each other. And that leads, I think, ultimately to an uplifting of all of society.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I agree. Man, I could do this for days. So were astronauts for you like rock stars?
Yeah. So when I was growing up, I was born in the 60s, and I grew up at the tail end of Apollo and Star Trek, and it was like, wow, we're going to the moon, man, we're going to the stars. It was like this expectation that it was all happening. And the astronauts were my rock stars. They were what I wanted to become. And we got to the moon in July of 1969, and then we left in December of 1972, and we never have gone back. This thing driven by politics, boom, ended, done.
Totally.
And I bought the inspiration, and then ultimately waited for the government to do it and to do it and to do it, to the point where I said, okay, they're not going to do it. Fine, just do it myself. And it became this absolute personal commitment to being responsible myself for making that dream come true, and not waiting for someone else to do it. And that's one of the lessons I want to share with every kid I meet, which is you can make your dreams come true today. And so I went from someone complaining about a problem to someone really working to fix it.
Totally. We're on the same page. And so would you say that, like, in your formative years, that like science for you was a creative subject?
I would look at the world of Star Trek and think, well, how would you make that happen? Right? I read a lot of science fiction. Arthur C. Clarke was someone I knew.
Genius.
Yeah.
Genius guy.
It's only science fiction today, but it could be made science fact.
Sure.
I'm on this epic, crazy asteroid mining adventure right now.
Awesome.
Every breakthrough was once science fiction. I mean, we're living in a science fiction universe right now.
Sure. I find that, like you said, like science fiction really honestly fuels the way we look at things. Isaac Asimov, the whole reason why like we look at robots the way that we do.
Absolutely.
He actually changed. They were meant to be these mean robots that were going to vilify the whole entire world, and actually he was the one that he was the first guy to sort of reverse that and made us think that maybe robots could actually help us. So it's like, through science fiction, those are the guys that dream beyond the stars. They dream beyond like physics, and it's people like yourself and Kurzweil, like you guys are changing our world.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
So were you competitive growing up?
I was a geek, no question. I was competitive in school to the extent of I wanted to do my best, but it wasn't competing against other people, it was competing against myself.
Much of the successes you've been involved with have come through competitions like the X Prize, which I think is so cool.
We do a lot of our best work when we compete. In sports, in the Olympics, in business, finding your girlfriend or spouse, whatever the case might be. We compete for things like that, and we push harder and harder. And sometimes even a competition allows collaboration, right? When you've got a team working together to win. When I read about Lindbergh crossing the Atlantic, I said, aha, that's a great model. And I started reading about prizes before that, that the British Navy in 1714 created a prize to tell the longitude. We could tell latitude, but not the longitude. The Navy was losing all of these ships on the rocks, and so they put up a prize, solved that one. Napoleon was going into Russia in the 1800s, attacking Russia from Paris, and all of his troops were dying from malnutrition. And so, and from starvation, he put up a prize for preserving food, and a French candy maker came up with the idea of canning foods as winning that prize. And then I started realizing that prizes were used all throughout history, and they stopped. And I was gonna, okay, I'm gonna restart prizes to try and solve the world's biggest problems. Here was the first X Prize. I wanted to demonstrate to the world that a small team could build a private spaceship and get you and me into space. Because if we could open up the space frontier, it was the very beginning of humanity moving out. The question is, what were the rules going to be? I'm in Congress, I'm talking about this to Congress, and this Congress person stands up and goes, Dr. Diamandis, aren't you in fact asking people to risk their lives? And some people might kill themselves going after this. And I was sort of like taken aback by this.